why don't you have a couple beers, loosen up, eat this, have some fried food, have whatever it is, whatever they want you to do that they think they're taking care of you. They don't understand that you're a fucking Spartan. Today's video, I wanted to talk a little bit about something that happened to me kind of recently, and something that I've kind of been hearing ever since I decided that I wanted to do a lot of stuff with my life. I decided that I wanted to, leave a dent in the universe in some way. Wanted it to be remembered. I started to get advice from people that, because they were my friends, people that I cared about, that I was tempted to follow this advice. And it isn't necessarily helpful because, like I've said in one of my recent videos, I was talking about how not everybody in the world is going to understand, not everybody in your circle is going to understand, and you can't expect them to understand your mission, right? Just because you are chosen and you are one of the chosen people to do something crazy, and in your heart, in your head, and in your soul that you are supposed to do something incredible on earth, that doesn't necessarily mean that everyone who loves you is going to understand. They can still love you, but they may not understand what it is. So with that in mind, all the advice that comes from these people, even though they love you and they just want to do what they think is best for you, you have to keep in mind that it's not necessarily the best advice for your mission. It's the best advice that they can come up with based on what they think you're trying to do, or just the fact that they love you and they want the best for you, but they may not have the same calling like you do. We've spoken about in previous videos, we've talked about Plato's conception of people being made of bronze, silver, and gold. Again, that's not to differentiate between people morally speaking. Every human being deserves to be treated as an end and never as a means. But with respect to the mission that people are on earth to accomplish, they differ from individual to individual. And you're on this page right now because you're somebody who believes that you have one of the bigger missions. You have one of these missions that you're not going to leave this world without it being accomplished, whatever that mission is. Now, back to the advice I was talking about. The advice I was getting was, be spontaneous. You need to learn to be spontaneous. And this is someone who does care about me. It's a friend of mine who said this, and I've heard this time and time again throughout my life. Ever since I was younger, I kind of had this inclination that being regimented is the way to be. Being like a Spartan, being disciplined. The reason why that's important, I'd come later to understand, was that spontaneous inputs lead to spontaneous outputs. But if you have a goal where you know roughly where you want to go, or you have a feeling that's pulling you in a certain direction, you can't rely on spontaneity to get you there. There's a chance that you might accomplish something really big with your life if you're just spontaneous all the time. That's totally true. But the kinds of goals that I'm talking about and the kinds of goals that I know all of you watching at home, all of you guys want to aspire to, these are not the kinds of goals where you can rely on maybes and possibilities. These are the kinds of situations where you need to take life by the horns and need to fucking go after it. You have to be aware of advice that comes from people who care about you, because they do care about you. They just don't recognize that it's your mission and that your calling is a little bit different than what they think it might be. Maybe you're the kind of person who you go out with a coworker, you go out with a friend, and they say to you, hey, why don't you have a couple beers, loosen up, eat this, have some fried food, have whatever it is, whatever they want you to do that they think they're taking care of you. They don't understand that you're a fucking Spartan. You're here because, yeah, sure, you might go out on a Friday night and you might spend some time with somebody because you've accounted for that. You got up early, you got your work done, you got everything you needed to do accomplished, and then some, hopefully. And then you allow yourself to go out. That doesn't mean you're just going to throw caution to the wind and you're going to start eating all this garbage that's going to take a tax on you the next day. You're going to start drinking a whole bunch of alcohol and you can't do shit the next day. You have to keep in mind, once again, that because someone loves you, because someone wants to have fun with you, that doesn't mean that you just do the things that you know ultimately will hurt you and your mission, especially its progress the next day or the next week or the next month, depending on what that is for you. Some people have cornerstone habits. That's something that I'm going to make a video about very, very soon. Cornerstone habits. They're things that you depend on in order to keep your kind of life in check, like a cornerstone, right? It's that little important stone that keeps the structure kind of standing properly. And for a lot of people, myself included, that's diet. That's a big thing. Diet and exercise. And both of those things are harmed when you eat poor food, obviously, with respect to diet. But exercise also becomes harmed because sometimes you don't have that energy the next day when you put garbage into your body. It's that same sort of principle. It's just even on a smaller, kind of zoomed in a little bit. If you give yourself spontaneous inputs, you get spontaneous outputs. It's the same thing with food. You eat a little bit of garbage, and you don't know how you're going to feel the next day. You might not have that motivation that you need to get to the gym. Even though I don't even think motivation is what's important. What's important is discipline. Again, I'll make a video about that too. But in general, if you're kind of letting yourself kind of every single weekend or every other day abandon your cornerstone habit, then it's not really a habit anymore. And those are the things that are going to get you to where you want to go. So I know I'm rambling a little bit here, but I just wanted to kind of say that a lot of the advice that you're going to get from people, you're going to get it from a place of love. A lot of times. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes they just want to bring you down. Misery loves company, right? But sometimes it's because, and a lot of times it's because they love you and they think that they're trying to do you some good, They encourage you to have a beer with them and come out and party and all this kind of stuff because they want you to be there. They like you. But the reality is that something greater needs you right now. And you might not see it when you're in the weeds grinding day in and day out. But if you do the same thing every single day for 5 days, it's like that video I had a couple days ago where I was telling you that, if you want to grow your biceps, grow wider shoulders, grow bigger quads, whatever it is, you don't do it by hoping and hoping and hoping. You go for a workout and think, oh wow, I hope this is the one that gets my biceps big. It's not the way it works. You go and you grind day in and day out and day in and day out, and then you force that growth. You force that growth. You're not going to be forcing much growth if every other day or every weekend, every Friday, you're on the beer with the boys, right? You can't be doing that every time. You can't be doing that every week. Now, that's not to say that there isn't time to allow these things, and you can schedule them in, and I think you should. But in general, you have to keep in mind that first things first in terms of priority. What is the first thing? What is the most important thing? That's the thing you need to guarantee gets taken care of. If there's time and there's space, sure. Then you can take your friend's advice of, come and party and whatever, do all this kind of stuff. On that note, it's actually very common. Alcohol, I will say, alcohol is a very common one where people kind of want you to join them because then they feel a little bit better about the amount that they want to go out and drink. I was in a circumstance some years ago where, some of my friends got upset with me because I wasn't drinking with them. I had something that I wanted to do the next day and I wasn't drinking with them. And they were all at the bar, just, again, like I said, on the beer. And they were kind of getting upset because, maybe a few nights before I had allowed myself to have a drink or two. And they thought that, I was willing to drink with that person, well, why not with them? They didn't understand that I allowed myself to drink that night because that was planned probably for a month in advance. And I'm not saying every single time you need to plan yourself out a month in advance. I'm just saying that that was regimented. I chose to do that. That wasn't something that pulled me in spontaneously. I reminded them that the amount of fun you have should not be determined by what's in my cup. And you guys need to remember that, specifically with respect to alcohol. Okay, I know I'm going on a bit of a rant, bit of a tangent here, but if people really want you to drink, that's something that you need to remind them. That the amount of fun they have, it's a sad thing if it's determined by the amount of alcohol or the contents of your cup that you have. That's ridiculous. But anyway, I'm just going to wrap this video up to say, listen, you're going to get advice from people who love you. And a lot of times that advice is going to be spontaneous. It might not come in those words, but people value spontaneity. They value spontaneity. And the reality is spontaneity is bullshit. Because if you want determined, accurate, powerful, long-lasting results, that comes from working and working and working at the input. You don't guess and hope that good input comes out of your work. You force that good input in so that you can get good output. So next time someone gives you advice, recognize that it probably is coming from a place of love, but it may not be what you need to hear to get you to your mission, get you to your goal, and get you to your finish line, if there even is one. So next time someone gives you this advice, recognize it's coming from a place of love. Don't hate on them for it. Don't take it personally. Don't feel like they're trying to rip you off your mission. Just recognize that you're a Spartan. You're here to leave your dent in the universe. Keep working hard. Tell them something like that you wish you could, but you're obligated to something else already. And eventually, the more and more you do that, the more they'll understand. That's gonna be the answer they're gonna get. So hopefully this video was informative. I know there was a bit of rants, a bit of rambling. I was going kind of left and right here, but there was a lot to talk about. I really think this is an important point because so often, like I said, it's motivated by love, and it's tempting to listen to this advice because you know they love you. But advice because someone loves you isn't necessarily the best advice because, like I said, not everybody's made of gold. Not to say that people are bad people. There's a lot of good people out there. I'm just saying not everyone is chosen for the kind of mission that you're chosen for, that we're chosen for, and that this brotherhood online is chosen for. People in the must become nation. We believe that what you can become, you must become, and that's what I absolutely stand by. If you want to hear more content that echoes that message, more information and more tips, more tricks around this sort of idea, then obviously like, comment, subscribe. Ring the notification bell so you know every single time I upload. I'll be uploading way more frequently. If you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, anything like that, please message me in the comment section. I know this is a new channel, but I'm very much dedicated to helping everybody out there and giving a resource that I kind of wish I had when I was younger. I'm only 27, but I thought I'd start now because I know that there's already a lot that I've learned, some the easy way, some the hard way, and I want to share that with you guys. So thank you so much for sticking around to the end, and I'll catch you in the next one.